HIMS.
Our guest today will be Dave Wilkinson, and his Vanna White, so to speak, his assistant, is Lisa Milano. She works in the sales department and support department at HIMS Inc. in Austin, Texas. And Dave, I'm just going to let you go ahead and take it from here.
All right, good afternoon, folks, and thank you for tuning in to the HIMS Braille EDGE webinar. Hopefully we got to see a number of you at the ACB and NFB conventions. If not, don't worry, we have plenty of other opportunities to see you as the summer goes on. We will be at AER International, World Blind Union, the IDVE conference, and a number of others along the way. Those are just ones that pop directly into mind. So if you haven't seen the HIMS Traveling Roadshow for the summer, don't worry, it may be coming to a city near you. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and start talking about the Braille EDGE. And one of the things that we always do with this is we always we have this Who is HIMS slide. And of course, you all already know who HIMS is, or you wouldn't be here. And you already know that we're leaders in the development and manufacturing of assistive technology, both on the blindness and the low vision side. And hopefully you all are aware that we've had a number of new products this year, such as the Go Vision. We have a number of Reinecker products that we're also branding as HIMS products. We just released a firmware update for the Blaze EZ and ET, and also a minor patch upgrade for the Braille Sense U2 version 8.5. And we were hoping to have the Braille EDGE firmware released by the time of this webinar, and it's not quite ready to go, so it's going to be out probably next week. So some of the features that we're talking about today, your Braille EDGE won't do yet, but mine will. So it'll give you something to look forward to. So that gives you an idea of who HIMS is, or who HIMS are, whichever the more grammatically correct way of that being would be. And today what we're going to cover is some of the Braille EDGE 40 hardware. I'm going to give a brief description of the Braille EDGE and some of its features. I'm going to talk about some of the abilities with the Notepad, the file formats that it can handle, some of the ebooks that it can handle, its readiness for UEB, its ease of access with multiple devices, and a couple of new features like the exam mode, and also how to update your Braille EDGE when this firmware is released. As Michelle said earlier, there will be a chance for questions at the end. We will unmute folks and let them ask questions. For those of you who are blind like me, who don't want to speak when your microphone is unmuted, you can text me questions after this presentation is over to 918-527-0688. And that'll also give you, since the chat window isn't readily accessible to us. So a brief description of the Braille EDGE. The Braille EDGE 40, as the name would indicate, is a 40-cell refreshable Braille display. It was introduced a few years ago by HIMS. And when it was introduced, it was either the first or one of the first Braille displays to allow multiple connectivity to devices. You can connect to a Bluetooth and a USB device, and there is a switch on the left-hand side that flips back and forth between Bluetooth and USB, so you don't have to remember any odd keystrokes or key combinations, anything like that. Also on the left-hand side, there is an SD secure digital card slot, and all of the memory of the Braille EDGE, when you're using it as a note taker, when you're using its appointment functions, its countdown timer, its clock, its alarm features, all of that is using the secure digital card. If you're not using the secure digital card, the Braille EDGE works pretty much just as a Braille display or as a calculator. But with the SD card, we have a number of other options that are readily available to you. On the top panel of the Braille EDGE, on the left and the right, you have arrow keys that when you are using this with a screen reader work as an up, down, and left and right arrow. The left and right arrows, sets of arrow keys, when you're using this as a note taker, can work independently of each other, so that you can set the left and right arrows to move by specific units of text, by line, sentence, character, paragraph, etc. And the left and the right can be set differently, so that maybe the left side will move by line and the right-hand side will move by paragraph. In between the two sets of arrow keys, we have a Perkins-style keyboard. And like any other Braille display, it's an 8-dot Braille keyboard with the backspace being the pinky on the left-hand side and Enter being the pinky on the right-hand side. Below the keyboard, you have 8 function keys. And these function keys are one of the things that allow the Braille Edge to have really quite a bit of power. There are function keys for everything from an Alt key to a Control key, Windows key, Applications key, Tab, etc. So when you're using a screen reader, these function keys will work with their pre-assigned function, or of course you can change them in the keyboard configurations of your screen reader. On the right-hand side of the Braille Edge, towards the back, you have a round power receptacle. It uses the same charger as our Braille Sense, our old Book Sense. It's pretty much a standard HIMS charger. And then towards the front, you have a USB mini plug. USB mini plug can be used with USB connection to connect the Braille Edge to the computer. You can also use an adapter that goes from USB mini to a full USB so that you can plug a thumb drive into the Braille Edge. The front of the Braille Edge is really easy to describe. There's absolutely nothing there except for a rectangular button that is surrounded by a tactile ring, or a tactile rectangle, I guess. It wouldn't be a ring because it's not round. And that button is the on-off button. And so when you press the on-off button, the Braille Edge will turn on or off. I just shut mine down, and now we'll turn it back on so that I can read my PowerPoint. And now we're back to business. As noted earlier, the Braille Edge does have a basic calculator, clock, alarm, countdown timer, and a scheduler. All of your applications are available off of a menu, and when you turn your Braille Edge on, you can either have it set to go into the Braille terminal mode, or you can use your scroll buttons, which are on the left and right side of the top panel, and which I did not describe in my description of the Braille Edge. They're right to the left and the right of the Braille display, and they're typical HIMS scroll buttons. So you've got just a menu that you can scroll up and down and choose the application that you want. The Notepad will let you write in Braille or in BRL or TXT files, and it will open, and this is what's really cool, it will open files that are Braille formatted, or BRF files, BRL files, RTF, docx, so that you can actually take a file that is put onto a secure digital card or a thumb drive that maybe a teacher has prepared or that a colleague has prepared, and you don't have to have your computer in front of you. You can simply open it up right onto the Braille Edge. If you do any editing in that document, you're going to have to save it as a Braille or TXT file, but it will open the file in its original format. And again, those file formats are BRL, BRF, text, doc, and docx. And because we have library books that are produced as BRF files through Bookshare or through the National Library Service, that means that you can look at a number of ebooks on your Braille Edge. And National Braille Press has ebooks produced as doc or docx files as well, so that you can use your Braille Edge as an ebook reader and not have it hooked up to your computer or your iPhone or any of your other devices to be able to read a book. It'll just work as its own standalone device. And you have a lot of features available that you would expect at that point. You've got Find, Find Next, Bookmark, etc., so that you've got a relatively powerful, low-level word processor available for reading your electronic books. Books need to be downloaded onto an SD card on your computer, and then you would put the SD card into the Braille Edge for the Braille Edge to see the files. It does not have the ability to directly download books from the internet. It's a Braille display. If you want a full-fledged note taker, we've got those that we'll be happy to sell you. But for the Braille Edge, you would have to put the book onto a secure digital card, or you could put it onto a thumb drive and plug the thumb drive into the USB mini port. When you're reading and navigating ebooks, you're just going to be using the scroll buttons on the left and or the right-hand side of the Braille Edge. Both scroll buttons can be set to move by line, sentence, paragraph, Braille display panning, etc. And the left and right hand display or scroll buttons don't have to do the same thing. So that, for example, I'm left-handed and hand by Braille display, and I have my right hand scroll button set to move by a complete line. The difference being that a complete line is where you would see a carriage return in your document, so that line may be 40 characters long, it may be 300 characters long. It's simply going to scroll down to the next physical line break in the document. As for UEB, this is the year of UEB. As of January the 4th, the official U.S. Braille Code became UEB, and the Braille Edge is ready for that. We had an update earlier this year that introduced UEB to our note-taking features of the Braille Edge, so that when you're writing BRL files, you can choose UEB as your Braille code. What we did not have at that point was UEB for our menus, so that when you were looking through the Braille Edge and you would see File, Edit, or Applications, Notepad, etc., you weren't seeing things like the parentheses in UEB. In the update to be released next week, we do have UEB throughout the entire note-taking side of the Braille Edge, so that whether you're setting an appointment or checking or setting the time or looking at parentheses for shortcut keys, UEB is available throughout. You, of course, can still use eBay or the old U.S. Literary Braille Code, but you do have the option of using UEB completely and 100% on the note-taking side of the Braille Edge. As a Braille display, the Braille Edge is reliant upon the screen reader that you're using, whether it's VoiceOver, Window Eyes, NVDA, JAWS, etc., and the UEB support from that screen reader. And that's going to be the case with any Braille display. At that point, you're relying on the screen reader to dictate to the Braille display. So you will have UEB support, since all of your major screen readers have UEB support. So we are totally UEB ready and are quite excited about that. As I mentioned earlier, the Braille Edge was, if not the first, one of the very first Braille displays to allow multiple connectivity to devices. And I still think it's the simplest to switch between one device and the other. It's just an actual tactile switch on the left-hand side of the Braille Edge, and there's a Braille B for when it's switched to Bluetooth, so you know that it's switched to Bluetooth. And there's nothing when it's switched to USB. I guess they figured it's by process of elimination that if it's not Bluetooth, it must be USB. So that I can have the Braille Edge connected to my PC or my Mac, and at the same time have it connected to my iPhone or my Android device or any other Bluetooth device, and simply flip the switch in between the USB and the Bluetooth side and switch which screen I'm looking at. So it's the equivalent of a visual person turning their head to look at their iPhone instead of their computer. In this case, I'm just simply flipping a switch to be able to do so. So I'm able to use the Braille Edge as a Braille display for two different devices simultaneously, and it's ridiculously easy to switch between the two with just a flick of a switch. Something that we're very excited about with the Braille Edge on the Braille display side, we've always been a very powerful Braille display, but some of our function keys did not perform as we expected them to with JAWS, and that has been fixed in the latest version of JAWS, which I think is 17.1.22 or something like that. You can always check to see if you're running the most current version of JAWS by either clicking on your JAWS icon if you're a sightling, or alt-tabbing over to JAWS as a blind person, going into Health and clicking on Search for Updates and see if JAWS will find and see if JAWS has an update. This is for JAWS version 17 and beyond, but I'm assuming that most of us that are using JAWS are probably running the most recent version of JAWS anyway. And in that version of JAWS, your application key, your Windows key, your Alt key, your Control key, your Tab key, etc., work as you would expect them to work. And so we're very excited about that. There's no firmware needed to be updated on the Braille Edge to get this. You simply update your version of JAWS, and our new drivers are built right in. Something that we introduced to the Braille Sense couple of weeks ago. Actually, the concept was introduced some time back, and then we took it a step further with the Braille Sense, and we're now introducing it to the Braille Edge, is an exam mode. With the Braille Sense, we've had a function lock feature for quite I lose track of these things, it's well over a year, I believe, where we can lock out specific features and make the Braille Sense either have or not have any of about 80 different features. But what Smarter Balance and other test-taking services wanted was the ability to simply and easily lock down the unit to where nothing worked except for the Braille display. And so we introduced that feature to the Braille Sense on a release that was made last week, and that feature will be introduced on the Braille Edge in the firmware release that we are hoping will be available next week. Now, without the SD card, it works basically just as a Braille display, except that you do have access to the calculator. So if you really want to go all the way and eliminate the calculator for your students during tests and only use it as a Braille display, we do have an exam mode available. And to do that, you're using your scroll down button and the letter L for entry and exit, and then it's password protected so that you type a password the first time you set this up, and you confirm your password so that the student can't just turn around and just turn exam mode back off, which we certainly don't want them to do. Now, once this new Braille Edge firmware comes out, you're going to want to be knowing what can you do to update your Braille Edge. And so, my friends, I'm going to tell you. We've got a link. I believe the link is in the PowerPoint. If it's not, we'll send an email to you guys to make sure that everyone has the link when the firmware is released. And you simply download the firmware from the support section of the HIMSS website, www.hims-inc.com. And under the support section, you'll see the Braille Edge. And under the Braille Edge, you'll see firmware. And you'll download that firmware, and it will be a zipped file. And you are going to take that zipped file, and you are going to unzip it. And you are going to put the contents of that unzipped folder onto either a secure digital card or onto a thumb drive. You are going to put that secure digital card or thumb drive into the Braille Edge. You're going to plug your Braille Edge in. You're going to turn it on, and you're going to press function key 8 and the reset button, which is on the back of the Braille Edge midway down the back panel. You're going to release the reset button, and you're going to hold function key 8, and the Braille Edge will speak to you, and it will say starting system update. At that point, you can release function key 8, and the Braille Edge will take about 30-40 seconds to update itself. And then you will have the exam mode, you'll have the UEB throughout the Braille Edge, and you'll be ready to go. There are also a couple of other features that are going to be introduced in firmware that came out after we put this PowerPoint together, one of them being a feature that will lock the keyboard. It will keep the scroll buttons unlocked, but it will allow you to read and not accidentally hit keys if you're on, say, a bumpy bus or a train, and you can lock or unlock your keyboard so that you don't have extraneous characters in your books or your articles or whatever it is that you're reading. The last thing that I'd like to cover, which is not on the PowerPoint, which is sort of a cool thing that's through the end of July, is we have a super secret special Braille Edge price that we had at the NFB and ACB conventions that I want to make sure that you guys are aware of. The Braille Edge is currently $2,495. It started the year at just under $3,000, and then the price dropped to $2,795, and now it's on sale from that price drop to $2,495. So now is a heck of a time to get it. If you're looking at starting the school year and you want to get a Braille display that has some limited note-taking capabilities, the Braille Edge may be for you. So with that being said, we're going to go for questions and answers, comments, all that kind of good stuff. You let me know what you need from me, and if I don't know it, I'll make it up.
1 second, folks.
Bear with Lisa, she's new at this.
Well, we, in the chat window, we don't have any questions at the moment.
That's okay, that just means I did an insanely thorough job. But I'm happy to wait, and we'll see what happens.
I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, this is Nolan Crabb. I'm using an iPhone, so I wasn't sure it would work. I realize this is unsolicited testimony, and you really want questions, not a cheerleading session. But can I just very briefly say, well, I became the owner of a brand new Edge about 3 weeks ago, and Jim McCarthy and Andy Leach sold the product to me with real style, I have to say. And I've been so impressed with the battery life. I've been impressed with the ease of use. Everything you've said here today is rock solid true about the ability to switch between Bluetooth and USB. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am to own this thing. It's a great product. If anyone on this meeting is sort of debating whether to get one or sort of tilting between yes and no, I would just say I've been just thrilled to have it. It's been a great addition for me. So my apologies if that's not what you're looking for in terms of questions, but I did want to thank you for an outstanding product.
No, and I'm always happy for pats on the back, so thank you very much. You might have to come out on tour with me.
Yes, thank you for your feedback.
Testimonials or questions? I'm sorry, Lisa.
I was just saying thank you for your feedback, Nolan.
Again, if we have any blind users out there who are wanting to text questions to me, you can do that at 918-527-0688.
Actually, Dave, we have a question here from Zach. He says, how do you get into the exam mode again?
The current key for that, and I emphasize current because this is beta firmware, has not been released, so don't try this on your Braille Edge at home, Zach, it won't work. The current keystroke as of the recording of this webinar is the scroll down button and the letter L. And I emphasize current because this isn't released firmware, so when the Braille Edge comes out, or when the firmware comes out, check the release notes and make sure that that is still accurate and we haven't gone and changed it on you.
Yes, this is Jay Pellis, and one quick question about the, is it send to clipboard feature? Is that what it's called when you could send text from your Braille Sense or Braille Edge to a connected device such as an iPhone?
Yes.
Yes, regarding that, I was teaching a client the Braille Sense last year, and I noticed that you can send multi-line lines of text by pressing enter after each line, and there was a command to send your final text, and I know on the Braille Edge as of now, am I mistaken in saying you can only send one line of text when you press enter, your text gets sent? Will you be adding multi-line in the future?
You know, as you're saying this, I'm writing a message to our engineers to see if we can include that in this update. That would be awesome.
That would be great because my client's using it, especially with the iPhone, just typing into text fields. And even if it's just a limited number of characters that can be sent, just doing multi-line would be great. Otherwise, excellent product. I love the commands in JAWS that I've noticed. Some of them are very similar to old Braille Speak Note Takers commands. At least where JAWS is concerned, I don't know if other screen like that, but very, very great machine.
Well, thank you. This is turning out to be way too much fun.
Thank you, Jay.
And Jay, there's a very good chance, I don't know if it will make it into this firmware that's headed for next week, but that doesn't mean that it won't make it into a future firmware release, and I'm certainly doing everything that we can to see if we can include that this time around.
Yeah, thanks a lot. You know what, I do demonstrate it for clients, and one thing I say was, oh, if this had multi-line, it would be the perfect Braille display. So, so thanks again for, maybe putting that in there sometime in the future.
Thanks.
Hi, Dave. I have my name is Londa Peterson, by the way. I have the latest version of JAWS, but my Control and Alt and Windows and those aren't working still. I just tried to press the Windows key on my Edge, and it doesn't bring up the start menu.
Make sure that you are running, not that this is the panacea for all problems, but make sure that there was an update for the Braille Edge released earlier this year. Make sure that you're running that update, which gives you the option of UEB in your Notepad, etc. which does affect how the Braille display interacts with screen readers, and see if you get better results. And if not, please call our tech support folks at 888-520-4467. I'm not trying to dodge the question, but they'll be able to do a lot more troubleshooting and eliminating of problems that I'm going to be able to here, because
Sure,
it should be working.
Sure. Okay, now that I know that for sure, I will follow up on that.
Or what you can do is just wait until next week and you only have to update once.
I do have the latest. I do have the firmware update.
Okay. Give our tech support folks a call and give them a run for their money.
Okay.
Any other questions out there? I'm just getting warmed up. It's sort of like Braille Edge Jeopardy.
Let's see. Hello?
Hi.
I'm not sure. I've never done. Hi. Okay, you can hear me. I wasn't sure. I haven't done this before. I'm Abby Taylor in Sheridan, Wyoming, and I purchased a Braille Edge a few years ago, and I was using it as both a Braille display and a note taker. And then last week, or actually last year when I bought a Braille Sense, I was using the Braille Edge mostly as a display until a week or so ago when I discovered the SD card slot in the Braille Sense no longer worked. And so I had a file I wanted to work with on the SD card, and I thought I'd try it in the Edge. And for some reason, I could not save the file. It was a doc file. I went in and made some changes to it, but it wouldn't save the file. And I don't know if I'm not sure why that's happening.
Couple of thoughts. You were able to open the file, is that correct?
Oh, yes, yes. I was able to open the file, yes.
Okay, so that eliminates my first idea, which was that it was bigger than a 32 gig SD card, which the Braille Edge won't support, but the Braille
No, it's
will.
a 2 gig SD card. Yeah, it's a 2 gig SD card.
Okay. I don't have an immediate answer. Again, give our tech support folks a call. They will be able to help out. And we actually welcome, speaking of our tech support folks, we have a brand new tech support person named Jim Walton. He's not from the TV show The Waltons, but he apparently does not like when people say goodnight, Jim Bob. But
okay.
But he's very good. We were lucky to get him, and so give him a call, and we'll play Fix the Braille Edge with Jim Walton.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
And Dave, we do have a chat question here. It says, what is the row of keys above the cursor routing buttons?
That row of keys is a series of 8 function keys. And Lisa, I'm backing up on the PowerPoints, but I can go in order of what they do.
Okay.
Let's see if I can, give me a second. From left to right, the very far left button is Escape. Then you have a Control key. Then you have a small space. You have an Alt and a Shift. Then we jump over the space bar. We have an Insert key, a Windows key, an Application key, which means that I'm missing one somewhere. What am I missing? No, Shift key, Windows key, an Applications key. That's 4 keys. So again, from left to right, we have Escape, Alt, Shift, Insert. No, I am missing one. Oh, now you're going to make me look this thing up.
Tab.
One of these.
Escape tab.
Yeah.
Yeah, Escape tab. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. See, I don't know how to use these things. I make it up as I go. Thank you. What I should have done is turn JAWS keyboard help on and just hit the things. That'll teach me. But that's what those buttons are. They're function keys that you can use when you're using the Braille Edge as a Braille display. They also will let you do things like you can use Control F when you're in the Notepad feature in the file for find. Control N will create a new file. So you've got Windows type commands that those function keys allow you to do.
Okay. And Dave, we have another question here. What kind of warranty comes with the Braille Edge 40?
Braille Edge 40 comes with a 2-year warranty. We are, of course, happy to sell you product maintenance agreements after that fact, but it does come with a 2-year warranty, so you're good to go for a couple of years.
Okay. And it looks like we have another question. What is the terminal clipboard and how does it work?
The terminal clipboard is a feature that allows you to write on, it essentially suspends the connection between your Braille display and your iPhone is what it's mostly used for. And it waits until you press enter to send that information to your iPhone. So what it does is it allows you to use your basic editing commands before sending the message. You don't ever run into any of the weird functions, any of the weird translation stuff that you run into with Apple devices. So if I'm pressing L and then stop typing, I won't get light or anything. It's just going to wait until I hit enter to send all the information to it. And you can exit and enter the clipboard mode. To exit it, you simply press enter. To enter it, I'm frantically looking it up in our user guide here. One moment, please. If I had music, I'd play it for you right here. Do. One more time. To enter the terminal clipboard, you're pressing space, enter, and the letter I. And the Braille display will say terminal clipboard, and then you can just write your text, and when you press enter, the text is sent to your mobile device.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that gives you that explains a little bit what terminal clipboard does. On the Braille sense, what Jay was talking about a while ago is you can actually send multi-line messages. So you can hit enter, you've got a carriage return, and instead of sending the text to your mobile device, it puts a new line in the document, and it waits until you press enter S to send to the mobile device. Now, when all of you go home later and you try your terminal clipboard, be warned. Your Apple device or your mobile device can only take so much data at once. So when you hit enter, it's a little slow for it to interpret all of that data that your Braille Edge has just sent it before it actually appears on your screen. So it's going to stutter and stammer a little bit. So it is not instantaneous.
Right. And Dave, we have another. Oops.
Oh,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
I was just going to quickly ask if there's. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. You first. Go ahead.
Go for it.
Oh, sorry. Super quick. Is there a limit to the number of characters that I can put into that terminal clipboard? I'm obviously not going to write War and Peace in there, but does it have limits? Do you know?
You know, I don't remember seeing a defined limit. I would not do more than a few sentences. It's just, and I mean, you could probably write a sonnet, but you'd have to go get a cup of coffee before the iPhone actually got it all. So I do not know of a specific character number, but it's, I mean, and, you know, it may be over 1,000, which would be a page.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Now I'm going to have to go home and count.
All right, Dave, we have another chat question. It says, how difficult is it to switch between USB and a Bluetooth device when the Braille Edge 40 is in terminal mode?
It is easier than any other device on the planet. It is a slide switch on the left-hand. Boy, that was a bold statement. In this presidential year of campaign promises and all that type of stuff, I'm confident in saying that this one is accurate. You simply slide a switch between USB and Bluetooth, and there is a B so that when the switch is pushed forward, it's closer to the B for Bluetooth, so you know it's in Bluetooth mode, and then when it's back towards the side that has nothing, you're in USB mode. So it is literally just a slide switch on the left-hand side of the unit.
Okay.
Bring it on. We're getting into the groove now. Any other questions out there? See, the problem is if you guys don't keep asking questions, I have to go back to work, and that's no fun.
Are you aware of whether anyone makes a cover that you can just simply put it over the top while the unit is seated on the desk to sort of protect the cells and the keys and so on. Is there just I'm just thinking now of like a top. I don't know how to describe it better. Does anyone make such a creature? I don't want to have to put it in the case when I walk away for lunch or something, but it would be great to be able to protect it a little bit.
It would, and you know, we don't have those for the Braille Edge, and we do for the Braille Sense, which makes no sense. We have this little elastic plastic thing that goes over the Braille Sense that protects it from dust and such things. And why we didn't develop that for the Braille Edge is another question that I'm now writing out to our folks in the international office. It would be really cool to have.
Yeah.
You know, if I could chime in here, it's Jay Powis again. From what I understand, there is a carrying case from a company called Executive Products that they've developed, and I would assume that would actually have like a Velcro cover that you can close over the top. But of course, like I said, it's a carrying case, and unfortunately, I think it's about $100, so it's quite expensive. But I've used their cases in the past, and they do protect products very well. Very well-made leather case. That would have a Velcro cover.
Yeah,
I agree. That's a great case.
It actually is a magnetic cover, and the only reason that I specify magnetic is that one of the sounds that I like least in the world is ripping Velcro, and so I love that case for the quietness of the magnets that you can just open. But yes, you're right. That does have a cover that would go over the top of it. What's cool about this little Braille Sense cover that we have is that it's literally just this very thin, I don't even know how to describe it. It's a little weird when you first pick it up. It feels a little too close to it. I remember, like, not Pampers, but those little pull-ups feel like. You've got a little kid. It's just this thin, weird material. But you put it over the Braille display, and you can actually still read through the material, and you feel the Braille display.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions out there? Well, if not, thank you all very much for tuning in today. For those of you who will be at AER, we do have a couple of presentations on the program for AER. As I said earlier, we will be at IDBE. We're also at the World Blind Union. Hopefully we got to see some of you at NFB and ACB. And we've got lots of other events that we will be at as the fall starts. One plug, a rather shameless plug to put out there for you teachers who are in the audience, we do have Braille Sense workshops that we offer that we can offer CEUs from ACB REP. If we get a group of about 10 people, I'm happy to come out and bring Braille Senses. And I realize this is the Braille Edge thing. I told you it was a shameless plug. But I'm happy to come to your school in your town or send one of my other henchmen or hench people, and we will conduct a workshop for you, and you'll get either 3 or 6 hours of CEU credits from ACB REP. If you're interested in that, send me an email at Dave, D-A-V-E, at hims-inc.com.
And Dave, what is your phone number again if they want to text you some questions?
My number is 918-527-0688. And either I or someone else will see you guys soon. And please, I don't know what the webinar is for next month, do you?
I do not have it at my ready right here. Nope.
That's all right. You can be assured that our marketing folks will send you plenty of emails letting you know what it is. So we'll see you in August. And thank you guys very much and have a great summer.